And a hello to everyone. I'm Mike Martinego of SportMedBC. We're so glad you could join us for our third SportSmart Webinar, our first of 2013. Happy New Year to you all. Our webinar today is on warming up and cooling down. Some great advice for you as we hit some cold weather conditions across the province. Here we are for SportSmart Webinar number 3. Just some background on the program. It's a injury prevention and performance initiative put together by SportMedBC and funded through the Public Health Agency of Canada's Active and Safe grant. We've conducted workshops all across British Columbia, starting up in late August of 2012 and now continuing here into 2013. We also provide plenty of resources and tips and tools, videos through our free sports safety network at sportmedbc.com. Just before we get into our third webinar, I do want to mention that if you have any questions or comments, any feedback, we'll try our best to answer to it throughout the webinar program. You'll notice a toolbar on the right-hand side that allows you to send us some questions and comments. As well, this webinar will be posted in our safety network within the next 48 hours, so be sure to sign up for the free safety network. Check out the webinar again in case you missed anything. For now, I'll send it over to SportMedBC Safety Coordinator and the presenter of this webinar, Seb Hartell, and he'll take us through best practices, warming up and cooling down. Seb?
All right, hi everyone. Thanks again for attending tonight and joining us with this for the webinar. And so I'm very excited to talk to you guys about warming up and cooling down. It's a very important subject as it can really help with sport performance as well as injury prevention. And so those are kind of the two big goals or big benefits of a proper warm-up and cooling down as well. And so by doing a warm-up properly, doing the right activities at the right time, you can really reduce that risk of injury during sport. And so let's say, for example, during a soccer match, warming up beforehand, doing the right activities, being prepared to start the game, definitely very important. Secondly, it does help improve athletic performance, and so those are two pretty major parts of sport, at least main goals that should be on everyone's radar. So this subject should be very interesting for most people involved with sport. So that being said, let's jump right into it. And so warming up is really a routine which prepares the body for strenuous activity, exercise, or sport using a combination of aerobic exercise and dynamic stretches. Warm-up should start with general whole body exercises and progress to activity and body part specific exercises. Warm-up should be active. You really want to avoid those lengthy periods of rest, and you don't want to allow that body to approach the near resting rates, and we'll get to that a little bit more specifically afterwards. A proper warm-up will actually give your body time to adjust to the demands of the exercise, reducing the risk of injury. And so it's not really good for your body to go from the couch to an active, intense soccer game without something in between to bridge the gap. And so warming up is really, really important in that sense. It's really a safe way to prepare, a safe and efficient way really to prepare yourself and to ready yourself for whether it's, just a workout, a practice, or a game, and whether that competition be wrestling, hockey, soccer, a basketball game, whatever it might be, warming up is definitely really, really important. There are definitely a few goals to warming up, which include increasing blood flow, which will help get oxygen to the muscles or distribute oxygen to the muscles that we breathe in. And so oxygen serves as fuel to our muscles, which will help, again, with performance and avoiding injury. You definitely want to help increase the breathing rate, especially in those cold temperatures, get the lungs ready, especially, you don't want to, for people who have played soccer in the winter here in the lower mainland, running around, breathing in that cold air can definitely start affecting those lungs pretty early on, so you definitely want to help, with bridging that gap and adjusting. Warming up can help reduce muscle stiffness, increase flexibility, increase coordination, and also help you be mentally prepared for the sport or the activity that you're about to do. And all of these goals really all help contribute to reducing the risk of injury. There are different components to a warm-up, and so we'll go over those right now. And so specifically, obviously a warm-up for volleyball and soccer will specifically be different, even for, a half marathon and such, but really all the components are pretty much all there. And so it starts off with a light 5 to 10 minute jog, get the body warm, really raise that heart rate and that breathing rate, get those oxygen to our muscles like just described before, followed by a brief, I would say at least 5 to 10 minutes period of dynamic stretches, which we'll touch upon into more detail in the next slide. After you've done your dynamic stretches, this is where you get a little bit more specific to your sport. And so whether it's side shuffles, vertical jumps like you do in volleyball or basketball, you just want to get those sport-specific movements in there besides just getting the body ready. So starting to get the body and mind coordinated and thinking about the sport. Following that, you want to get a little bit more into technique practice. And so, touches on the soccer ball, shooting drills, whether it be soccer, basketball, hockey, and then, stick handling in hockey. This is where in volleyball you'll start playing either some pepper, doing the volleyball motions. And so whether it's, hitting, serving, bumping, volleying, this is really where you want to get those specific movements in there and getting them warm and ready to go. So mentioned like before, dynamic stretching, and what it is, it's actually an active form of stretching, or it's really considered stretching with movement. And so instead of just sitting there and holding your arm across your body, your arm over your head or leg, just holding your leg back for 30 seconds, what it does is you use, speed of movement, momentum, and active muscular effort to really bring that muscle through its range of motion, as well as keeping it warm. And so what this does is it gets the body active, the blood circulating, but also loosens up the muscles and gets that flexibility and that extensibility in those muscles. You definitely don't want to be holding that stretch at the end point. So where you're holding your leg up to your thigh, full bending your knee and holding that leg up to your thigh, or you really don't want to be holding those stretches for that 30 seconds. Again, holding it, letting your body temperature and that effort really go back down is something you want to avoid. I mentioned with movement into these stretches, but it's not really a bouncing technique. And so you see a lot of those people doing those ballistic type stretches where you're bending over at the trunk, touching your toes, and they're really just bouncing up and down and trying to stretch through it. And that's not really the goal of our warm-ups. And so really specifically some examples of dynamic stretches would include walking lunges, sumo squats, leg kicks, knee lifts or butt kicks, some torso twists or some arm circles, kind of just like described in those 3 pictures there on the side. And so those, again, those motions help stretch out the muscle, help lengthen the muscle, as well as keep the body active and making sure that your core temperature and your body temperature is up and, the heart rate and breathing rate maintained at that optimal level. Now, warm-ups definitely help reduce the risk of injury. And so the problem is that a lot of people are doing warm-ups either improperly or they're just not doing them at all. And so ways to help that out, or what you want to do is making sure by following the right technique you are reducing the risk of muscle cramps, muscle strains, or tendinitises. And so it's very important to maintain a good form during the entire warm-up to really minimize injuries. The classic example is, the sprinter, whether it be 100 or 200 meters or something, not really doing a proper warm-up, or it's a little bit cooler out than normal, so he just goes through his normal routine and doesn't take that into consideration. Sprints out of the block and really pushes out, and next thing you know, grabs the back of his leg and falls down in pain like our runner here in the picture, just because the muscle wasn't ready, and so that really just stretched out and strained it. And so, those are something that can be avoided with a proper warm-up. Equally as important as a warm-up is also, conversely, the cool-down. And so a cool-down, what it is really an easy exercise or a gradual return to normal activity. So it's an exercise that will allow the body to gradually transition from an exertional state to a resting or near resting state. An effective cool down gives your body time to really just recover from the demands from the activity that was just imposed. So whether it be a 90-minute soccer match or even a whole round of a tournament, a wrestling tournament or something like that. So definitely very, very important. The goals of a cool down are to help your heart rate and breathing rate gradually return to normal, to prevent fainting or dizziness, which can happen as in a result of your blood pooling into your extremities during an exercise and then just immediately stopping. So just not having that proper circulation and having that kind of blood rush. some people do tend to feel faint or dizzy. You know, as classic examples after a long run, a half marathon or a marathon. You know, cooling down really helps prepare your muscles for the next exercise session. And so I take this into, you know, let's say you have a soccer tournament where you're playing 3 games in a weekend. Without cooling down properly, you know, your muscles might be a little bit more stiff or a little bit more, you know, or a little less flexible than they should be in the next time. So that really helps you prepare for the next activity. Reducing the immediate post-exercise tendencies for muscles to spasm or cramping. And so again, in the next point, reducing muscle stiffness and allowing really that muscle to relax. And so, you know, after a 90-minute soccer match, really, you know, going from a run to a jog and then to a walk and then, you know, a good 10 minutes of holding those stretches, really increasing that circulation into your muscles, throughout your muscles, and getting rid of the junk in there. Really helps those muscles relax and avoids those post-exercise cramping or spasming that you can tend to get. And just kind of like mentioned, a good stretch program or a good cool down and stretch after can really help in the dissipation of waste products in the muscles. Just like there's several components to a warm-up, there's also some to a cool-down as well. And so normally, let's say a cool-down, you go from a run. You definitely want to go from, let's say, a run to a light 5 to 10-minute jog and, you know, thereafter a walk. You don't want to just go straight from a sprint or an extensive, you know, 10K run to just stopping dead cold or cold turkey. You know, you definitely want to just ease your way back into it. So go from a run to a light jog into a walk. And then after that, you want to go into 10 minutes of static stretching, which I'll touch upon in the next slide there. Also importantly, which we'll go into a little bit more detail afterwards, is hydration, which is definitely another component of the cool down. And so that first part, that static stretching, so you've played your match, you go off and you do your nice little jog and your nice return to calm with your jog and walk afterwards. And now that your body temperature is kind of calmed down a little bit, what you want to do is you want to go into some static stretching. And this is the one that people have been doing for years, where you get in that circle with your team and you hold your stretches for, you know, various periods of time, working from head to toe. And so that's definitely very important to do. And what static stretching is, you know, you're holding your muscle in an elongated position, and that'll really help with the circulation. The common, or at least popular thinking out there, is to just hold your stretches for 30 seconds. And while that's good, I definitely recommend, because everyone is different, you know, whether it be, you know, your hydration levels, your fitness levels, the amount of effort you just put in, considering everyone is unique and different, and exactly what they did is a little bit unique and different, to just say that everyone's muscles will be good and stretched after 30 seconds is a little bit of a generalization. And so what I recommend is really just holding that muscle or that stretch until you feel the muscle relax. And so what might take one person 30 seconds could take another person 45 to a minute. So definitely very important to just listen to your body and listen to that feedback that's giving you. Once you feel that muscle relax, move on to the next one. Also very important is to just stretch to maybe just mild discomfort. You never want pain to be felt, because the body's reaction to pain is to spasm up and shorten up those muscles. So you're really just kind of wasting your time and losing that benefit of the stretch. Some common mistakes that are done during a warm-up. Some people will go and warm up, they'll run, they'll jog, or they'll get the body temperature up, and then they'll go again, like I said, and they'll do a long period of static stretching, 10 minutes of in a circle with your team, holding your stretches for, you know, 30 seconds to a minute each. Oftentimes warm-ups just are too general and not sport-specific enough. Think of a volleyball player, you know, you need to make sure that your shoulder is nice and warm, your back's nice and warm, because you are going to definitely be favoring that a lot during your sport. So you want to make sure that that body part is even more warmed up than the rest. Oftentimes warm-ups are just too one-dimensional, and so I mentioned how there's different components to stretching or to a warm-up, whether it be the jog, the dynamic stretching, the sport-specific movement, and the technical stuff. And so oftentimes people will only do, let's say, 1 or 2 of those 4 components. But also warm-up is just often ignored or overlooked. People just don't take them too seriously, or just jump right into the game from the bench, or, you know, from their car to getting changed to jump on the field without really warming up. And so that's definitely a really, really big mistake that people tend to keep doing these days. as well as, mistakes during the warm-up, there's definitely mistakes during the cool-down. And so a couple of those mistakes, again, like mentioned before, is stretching into those painful ranges. And so if you're stretching and all of a sudden it starts to hurt, you're bending down, touching your toes, and your back starts to hurt, just back it off a little bit, go to mild discomfort, and you'll get all the benefits from the stretch that way. Some people tend to not hold their stretch long enough, and while you'll see those athletes who are either from 5 years old to university level athletes, really just hold those stretches for 5 to 7 seconds each, which is clearly not long enough, and so you're not really getting enough of the benefits. So definitely another common mistake. Another mistake is improper form or just bad form. Either stretching too far or the wrong. You're not even stretching really the muscle well. I tend to get a lot of when people are stretching out their quads to grabbing from their toes and really also stretching out the ankle, which is kind of something you don't want to do. So definitely another common mistake. And again, just like the warm-up, oftentimes the cool-down is often ignored or even overlooked. And so people go from match is over, final whistle, run straight to your car, get in the car and drive away, and don't think twice about it. So definitely another common mistake in terms of what we're doing today improperly. Another popular technique that's being more and more incorporated into either fitness or sport is foam rolling. And so foam rolling is another way to loosen tissue and increase blood flow. It can be used in both the warm-up and the cool-down periods, and the goal of foam rolling is much like stretching to increase mobility and flexibility. It also helps to increase circulation through the muscles, or at least blood flow through the muscles for sure. And so for foam rolling, what you do is you use a dense foam roller, and so you can see there under the gentleman's leg, there's a dense circular piece of foam, and what you do is you roll over this with your body part using your body weight, and that applies a pressure. And so what you want to do is move slowly and in control over it. And so the gentleman here is rolling out the lateral aspect of his leg, much into going down to the IT band, which is a difficult body part to stretch. And so this is another way to really tackle that problem. Popular or at least common areas that you could use the foam roll on include the calves, hamstring, your glutes, your quads, IT band, piriformis, back, and there's many more. You can go pretty much all over the body and use a foam roller. Definitely very beneficial. Another kind of trick of mine that I do is in terms of during a cool down or after sport, what I'll do is I'll take a water bottle, I'll fill it up, and I'll throw it in the freezer, whether it be a Dasani, one of those plastic water bottles, and I'll come home after a game and I'll use that foam roller or that frozen water bottle to kind of roll out my muscles that way. And so I get the benefit of the pressure and the massage from the foam roller as well as the cooling effect of the ice. So definitely just one of my other tips to throw out there. It's very, very beneficial. It's been one of the best changes I've done in the last 5 years in terms of performance and recovery. So definitely suggest that one there. Try it out and let me know how it goes. A great program that's out there is the FIFA F Mark 11 Plus program. And so this is an injury prevention, warm-up, and training program. And so it brings you through 3 phases that go from easy running into strengthening exercises and then to more vigorous sprinting and cutting exercises. And so it's broken down to those 3 phases, and each phase with full explanations are accompanied by great visual cues as well. And so you see here on the screen on the left would be an example of pictures of the correct form and the incorrect form or common mistakes done. And so you see here on a lunge, keeping the trunk straight, the knees straight without collapsing in too far, as shown in the picture here, without really tilting the hips and the torso or leaning too far forward or bending the knee too far forward as well. Each exercise is also not only shown with a picture but also shown with a video like shown on the left. They're usually about 1.5 minutes each, and so really good description, great visuals to go along with it. The program is designed for athletes 14 years of age and older. For coaches and parents of athletes who are younger than that, definitely take some of the more easy exercises and incorporate them, or at least take some of these ideas. You don't necessarily have to go into some of the more complicated movements, but it's a good resource to get a general idea of what should be done before and after, or at least before an exercise or before a practice or a game for sure. As mentioned before, so not only is it important to warm up properly and to warm up and then cool down properly, it's also very important to kind of refuel and rehydrate your body. And so after exercise, you need your nutrients to help restore and rebuild muscles, to strengthen your immune system, and to also replenish your energy stores. And so after exercising or after a game or a workout, you have a golden window, or that recovery window, of 30 to 60 minutes after exercise, which is an optimal uptake window. And in this, you want to really absorb some high glycemic carbs, which can help accomplish a better absorption rate, because muscles absorb carbs at a faster rate, in that recovery window from 30 to 60 minutes after exercise. And so what you want to do is you want to have carbs and proteins in this time. And so good sources of those would be chocolate, milk, a banana, Greek yogurt, and fruit. Definitely just a really good source right there to have, 30 to 60 minutes after your exercise or workout, whichever it may be. Hydration is also really important post-activity, and so not only is it important before and during, but afterwards, because you have lost a lot of fluid during your exercise, you want to make sure that you're replenishing that afterwards. And so an example would be, having about 750 milliliters of a bottle of water after your exercise. And so there's no, I can't say, because you're 15 years old, you have to have this much. Really, there's two other techniques I'll show you below to really estimate how much water you should be drinking. And so your hydration should be based on your exercise time and exertion, your sweat rate, the climate outside, and your post-exercise hydration levels. And so the two ways to estimate your hydration levels would be monitoring the urine color. And so a darker urine color or a darker colored urine would signal that the athlete or yourself is more dehydrated. So you're aiming to bring that down by drinking more water. Secondly, by weighing yourself pre and post exercise. And so very popular in the football world, especially during training camps, to have that, weigh yourself before you go on the field and when you come back off, having to, seeing that big difference. And so for an example, basically for every half pound lost, you want to drink a cup of water. And so if you're 3 pounds lighter, then you want to be drinking 6 cups at the end of your session and over the next few hours to really fully replace existing and ongoing fluid loss. Now, just because you've stopped exercising, for the next couple hours, your body's still going to continue to work. And so for me personally, I would say, go even up to 9 cups of water after that, just to really boost that up. So definitely a way that you can scientifically a little bit more get into control into making sure that you're replenishing your body fluids and replenishing your levels. So in conclusion, you just want to make sure that you don't want to take your warm-ups and cool-downs lightly. You always want to make sure that you have an active warm-up. And so whether it be, jogging, static stretching, you just want to make sure that you're keeping the body moving and you're not getting the body revved up just to calm down and sit down through 10 minutes of static stretching. So very important. Again, I want to make, all you guys vow to never ever will I do static stretching before a game. I want you guys to really focus on dynamic stretching before, static stretching after. I know, I've coached a team of young girls before, and I know they love that circle beforehand to sit and talk, and it's fairly important to them. Don't let them, don't say that they shouldn't be active with each other, but make sure that they know that that's really just necessary afterwards, or the static stretching is important afterwards. Again, don't stretch through pain. If it hurts, scale it back a little bit. You'll do yourself and your body a big favor, and most importantly, be safe. That being said, join our SportMed Safety Network online. There's some athletic taping videos. There's soon to come some exercise and training videos, and all our SportMed document templates are on there, some articles. The previous webinars of ACL and concussion are on there, and many more resources. And so it's a great free resource. It's free to sign up. So the link's below there as well. You can find SportMedBC.com. So do definitely sign up. It's a great resource for you guys. We are also on social media, so like us on Facebook, facebook.com/SportMedBC. Follow us on Twitter @SportMedBC. Definitely we're very active on there. And we do have an upcoming webinar in February on foot and ankle injuries. So, be sure, thanks again for attending tonight, and be sure to come back on that night as well. And so that being said, I want to thank you for attending the webinar. All my coordinates are there on the screen, and so if you have any questions about what we talked upon or didn't have the chance to talk about tonight, please shoot me an email, give me a call. I'd be more than happy to discuss with you guys any of the questions you guys do have. And so again, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you guys all in February. And before we exit, I will pass it over to Mike one more time. So thanks again, guys, and have a great night.
And thanks again, Seb. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, passing along their thoughts again for various tips and tools, resources, how to host a workshop, so much information. You can sign up for our free safety network at SportMedBC.com. As mentioned before, the webinar will be posted in the network, and it will be up within the next 48 hours. Seb mentioned how to connect with him. For more details on SportMedBC, the website, SportMedBC.com. The next webinar is next month. That's in February. And it's on foot and ankle injuries, the date to be determined, but we'll have plenty of information and updates through our website and our various social media channels. So again, for Seb Hartell, I'm Mike Martinego. Thanks again for checking us out on this SportSmart webinar.